Governor Hickenlooper signed several bills into law on Tuesday, including a $645 million initiative intended to pay for various transportation projects over the next 2 years. Hickenlooper also signed a bill that would allow undocumented immigrants to renew their driver's licenses online or by mail beginning January 1st, 2019. David, in full disclosure, the Independence Institute is, I'm not sure, is working on, or at least considering a transportation initiative for the fall. But what do you think about this bill? $645 million is not chump change. It seems like that would pay for a lot of transportation progress.
Well, it can. But it's less than meets the eye, because the large majority of that amount was something that had already been allocated by the legislature in the 2017 budget. So it's just a little bit above that. So you've got 2 years of more, because the last legislature than the current one, of some increase in transportation funding. After that, from in year 3 and thereafter, it's just an extra $50 million a year compared to the baseline, which is not even close to adequate to meet the needs on Colorado's crumbling and poorly maintained roads. The top line figures are also less because a significant amount of money goes to local governments with very little accountability for their local projects, bike lanes or whatever. And those are things that are more properly funded by the local governments. They have their own taxing authority, and the people there who want a bike lane or a road improvement or whatever within a city or a county, they can decide on whether the money's worth spending or not. The state money should be used for the state transportation network, the state highways, and the interstates. But there's an important ideological division of the legislature. Some people who want to improve transportation, and another view expressed by Representative Faith Winter, we need to get drivers off the road and into public transportation. And so, of course, if you think of that, then you oppose things that will make the roads better. The worse the roads are, the more people you force into public transportation.
Eric, the idea of transportation came up in our debate, and I guess I wasn't shocked, but the chorus from all four candidates was, we need more tax money to pay for better roads. And I think this has the possibility of becoming a campaign issue. There's $645 million. David makes a good point about how it is all structured, but that's nothing to sneeze at. Do you think this becomes a bigger deal for the eventual Democratic and Republican nominee to argue over how we pay for transportation?
Oh, I think it clearly will be a major issue in the fall, a bigger issue in the fall than it is here in the primary. Yes, $645 million is a very big number. As David points out, portions of it get siphoned off in other directions. And when you compare that $645 million against the need in this state, I mean, some people talk about the need at $20 billion. I'm enough of a cynic that I hear numbers like that and my immediate instinct is to cut it in half. So, but even if you cut it in half, $645 million, it makes a dent, but it only makes a dent. The real story here, to my thinking, is less the $645 million, substantial as that is, and less the $50 million additional of ongoing dollars year after year. It's the vote that is coming up here as part of this package for bonding authority to really jumpstart our road and anti-congestion program. And that is going to be a huge political campaign upcoming. It's going to pit two sort of diametrically opposed voter instincts. On the one hand, this is a state that tends to be leery of tax increases. Let's not forget an educational tax increase that was on the ballot a few years ago that went down almost 2 to 1. On the other hand, as Penn has pointed out, and others already in this program, congestion and roads and getting people from point A to point B is the issue right now in this state, particularly in the metro area, but elsewhere as well. Even in rural areas, it's not a congestion issue, it's a maintenance issue. And are voters willing to dig pretty deep into their pockets to pay for that? And we're going to be talking about that around this table for the next few years.
Penn, is there other issues in the bills that Governor Hickenlooper signed that we're missing, or are we appropriately focusing on the transportation one?
Focusing on transportation, but I just want to reference and congratulate the General Assembly and the governor for the bill that allowed undocumented immigrants to renew their driver's licenses. And what's important about that is it shows how, in many ways, bipartisan or nonpartisan this issue is. The Republicans that supported it were from rural Colorado who said, our agricultural economies depend upon these seasonal workers, some of whom are not documented, but we need them. And if they're not here, we can't run our businesses. We can't generate produce for the state and the nation to feed our population. So it sort of forces the immigration conversation and casts it in a different light. With regard to Senate Bill 1, the transportation funding measure, what's most important, I think, about the bill is not what it does, but what it does not do. The General Assembly passed up on the opportunity to refer a measure now that would address how to fund and provide additional funding to support bonding for transportation construction. And the impasse was Republicans didn't want a tax increase, the Senate Republicans. House Democrats wanted a tax increase. They wanted new revenues. They blinked and they passed a bill with no new revenues. And so what's going to happen in the vote this November is the Independence Institute initiative calls for, and from my perspective, mandates that a portion of the general fund go to road construction. That's why I think that's a bad idea, because that's a mandate that doesn't take into consideration the other needs of the state. What the chamber is proposing is a sales tax increase, which is among the most regressive taxes you can increase, but it calls for generating a new revenue stream that supports the bonding proposal. So you have these very diametrically opposed philosophies, and I don't know, we may see that when you have two options on the ballot, the answer is no to both.
Patty, wrap it up for us.
Well, we could have made the immigrants drive over the really badly maintained roads to get here. This wasn't a new idea. We already had the program in place for them to be able to get driver's licenses, but there were, 3 locations in the state where they could do it, and you just couldn't get there over those bad roads. So this was a good move. It was a smart move. As for the transportation bill, that they passed anything was surprising, but the November fight is going to be huge, and I think confusing for a lot of people. I was sorry that we didn't see anything about Tabor, and what was interesting is every single candidate on the debate starts talking about fixing Tabor, something no one has managed to do for a long time.